The scissors have a red handle. They're in the third level of the bin with the apples painted on it in the kitchen. They have been the same pair of scissors in that same bin for most of my life. And when we go to visit my folks for Thanksgiving, if for some reason I need a pair of scissors, I can go to that apple bin on the third level, open the lid, and there will be the same scissors with the red handle that I have seen used for some 30-plus years of my life. That's not the case at my house. The scissors might be in the container on the kitchen counter. They might be in the basket in the upper level of the hutch in the living room. They could have migrated to the basement to open a bag of dog food or be left on the tool bench there. Or maybe they're in the secretary desk in the office. Or maybe they've gone missing entirely, so we have to go on Amazon and order more scissors that we can then lose and not know where they are at the moment when we need them. It infuriates me. Not because the scissors are out of place, but because I am not organized enough to make sure they get put back where they belong. Coming from a home where everything had a place and most everything was in its place, this has been a difficult self-realization for me that I have a tendency to lose things. Now, I'm not terribly disorganized per se, but it is not infrequent in our house to hear, "Why is there just one sock? Have you seen my headphones laying around? Where are my running shoes, my wallet, my phone? We bought that Christmas present months ago and put it away so we would remember where it was, but now where is it? The hand-crocheted baby blanket just disappears. Disrupts the equilibrium, the peace in the home, reminds me of just how deficient I am. And the search for these lost things takes up time that could be spent doing something much more fun, much more valuable." Do you ever lose things? Does it bother you? Happens with people too. I'm not just talking about when they die. The college buddies where the text messages become less frequent and result in just a Christmas card maybe exchanged once a year. Friend moves away. There's a rift in your family. There's that uncle who's not allowed to come to Christmas anymore, the sister who betrayed you, the parents who felt they had to change the locks on the doors of the house because of the chaos that entered each time their child came home in the midst of another addiction. There's a severed friendship as lives go in different directions. And we make the effort to steel our hearts against it. I'm better without him anyway, you say. So then why are you Facebook stalking the ex-boyfriend in the middle of the night, scrolling through his news feed to see what's been happening? It's her birthday. You push the name to call the person, but for some reason you just can't bring yourself to hit the green button and push send. These severed relationships around us, we feel deficient. Something disrupts the equilibrium. Something tells us it's not right to live separated and divided this way. It doesn't mean that every relationship can go back to what it was before, but could at least it not be left in tatters or just slipping away because of absent-mindedness. Do you ever lose things? Does it bother you? Jesus worries about losing things. He talks in our story today about the little ones vulnerable in the church. These are the new believers, or maybe it's the ones with the anger issues or the mousy personalities, the ones who dominate in meetings or who slip in and out of the back row. You know who the little ones are. They're the ones that part of you despises. The ones who, if they left and never came back, a part of you would be prone to say, good riddance. Jesus says that person you'd rather just replace in your life, you'd rather leave to their own devices, you'd like to just carve out of your heart, that person has an angel assigned to them whose face is continually turned toward the very presence of the living God, the person you despise. Now listen, we've got to be careful with this passage that we don't abuse what Jesus is saying here. See, we abuse the statement, we read it the wrong way when we want to take on the title of being the little ones. Oh, I've wandered from the flock and I need someone to bring me back in, to accommodate me and to acquiesce to my desires. Sometimes in the church it sounds like this. You know, I didn't go to worship for 8 weeks and nobody even called me. I wish the church did more things for people like me. I don't know. I don't feel like I even matter to these folks. We're abusing Jesus' words when we want to claim the victim role, when we want to claim the role of being that little one. The call of the story is not to claim the role of the wanderer or the victim of neglect. Instead, Jesus is asking every member of the church, do you ever lose things? Does it bother you? So in contrast to despising what's lost, there's searching. Jesus tells the story of a shepherd. He leaves 99 sheep on the mountains in search of the one that strays. Pay attention that Jesus says on the mountains. Jesus doesn't leave these sheep bedded down in a safe, secure meadow where they've got plenty to eat and no predators on the loose. No, they're on the mountains where they're at risk of a terrible, devastating fall or to be prey to those that might be lurking in the shadows. That says something about the importance of this wandering sheep. And then the shepherd finds the sheep. He rejoices more over the lost one than over the 99 others. Now, if you're one of these 99 sheep who stuck around, who stayed with the flock, who made it through the mountains, you want to say sarcastically to the shepherd, well, thanks a lot. But if you have ever been the one who wandered and you've been found, there's an immense sense of gratitude for this particular shepherd. We're in week 2 of this series on neighboring. We're talking about what it means as Christian people to be a good neighbor to one another. Last week we looked at mercy. Today we're looking at the idea of reconciliation. And reconciliation stems from the answer we give to that question, do you ever lose things? Does it bother you? For the Christian neighbor, the answer is unequivocally yes. Yes, I have lost things, and yes, it bothers me, and I want it to be made right. Even if a large part of my heart wants to despise and dismiss that lost sheep and leave them as prey to the wolves, there's still this sense deep in the soul that comes from God that something's off with that view. Throws off the equilibrium. Some whisper echoing from beyond eternity, speaking into the depths of our soul, reminding us that I belong to this person, they belong to me. We can't be whole as long as we're lost from each other. Something tells us that when we wander, when we despise, when we turn away from, we are promoting another person's destruction. And we know that when relationships are defined by our despising, we end up looking something like this. This is Chris. He is a Australian merino sheep. He went missing from his flock. He was lost for some 5 years on his own in the wilderness in Australia. While he was there, he grew to this massive size. When he was finally found, he was the size of a refrigerator. Wool covered most of his eyes so he couldn't see. His hooves were broken from carrying around all this extra weight. If he had lost his balance and fallen over, he would have been easy prey for the dingoes. That's what it looks like to be lost. And something tells us, some part of us says, just despise that one that's lost and say, well, he had it coming to him. We welcome that fate. In Chris's case, though, a hiker saw him in the woods and called the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. They came and retrieved the sheep. They put out word asking for an experienced shepherd to come and shear the sheep and save its life. Ian Elkins, a 4-time national champion sheep shearer. Yes, there are national champion sheep shearers. He came and did the work, cutting away 89 pounds of wool off of Chris and saving his life. And there was great rejoicing. Do you ever lose things? Does it bother you? What if it did bother you? Bothered you enough to leave the 99 and go in search, to draw back in and to reconcile, whatever that looks like. To see the broken hooves and the massive, heavy, strangling wool and call out for aid to save this other and humble yourself to be part of their restoration as well. That wandering sheep might be showing up to Thanksgiving dinner this year. So instead of being appalled by how grotesque they are with their terrible politics and offensive jokes, or how they talk about themselves the entire time, instead we see before us a person suffering, in pain, a soul in need of healing, just like each of us has a soul in need of healing. We become part of that restoration project. Might be that difficult neighbor across the street or next door, the one who complains about your dog barking all the time, or how they never seem to get their yard mowed until it looks like a hay field. Maybe it's that coworker who seems to live to get into arguments with you and loves nothing more than to just get under your skin. Maybe it's that person on Facebook that you had to hide during election season. What happens now? That's not my Facebook, by the way. I did not unfollow anybody named Jeff. So if anybody Jeff is watching today, that's not from me. I keep waiting to get messages from like Jeff Newman and Jeff Bosser. Why did you hide me? That's not me. Is it eternal separation forever, or is there a way to restore and heal? Or frankly, in the church herself, I have no idea how many little ones have wandered away from our fold during this pandemic time. Yeah, I've gone through the directory, I've made phone calls, I've sent emails, I've sent out letters. But who comes to your mind that's missing? Who are the forgotten ones who are feeling lost and alone right now, maybe even abandoned? Is there a restoration there that can take place? I know. It's a lot easier to despise than to search. It's easier to dismiss the sheep that wanders off and let it swelter under the weight of its ever-growing wool. A sensible shepherd doesn't leave the 99 sheep and risk his life after that one. Don't I need to preserve my own emotional health? This could blow up. This could go all wrong. Maybe good fences do just make good neighbors, not reconciliation. You know, some things just go missing. Shrug our shoulders and try to move past it. but the ache still lingers. And the question keeps wending its way around our heart. Do you ever lose things? Does it bother you?